Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus A330 pilot, and welcome to this video. A lot of you have asked me recently if I could do a couple more abnormal procedures, and we absolutely can. So today we are sitting in Innsbruck in the Airbus A321, and it is a rather heavy A321 at around 77 tons of gross weight. You can guess 3 times what's gonna happen, but I can spoiler you a little bit in that it is gonna be an engine failure, trying to recreate the flight we did on the 737 a couple of years ago. So let's go inside and have a look at what today's procedure is going to look like. So this is the engine out procedure for Innsbruck. Now, thank you very much to fellow YouTuber Blackbox711 for providing this absolutely superb briefing material for our flight simulation. So, his website will be linked in the video description below if you are looking for that kind of data. Down here we can see the engine out procedure for runway 26. It's an acceleration at 4,500 feet, and the EOSIT itself goes straight ahead to 2.5 DME, and then via a couple waypoints we basically go into the valley, then make a 180-degree turn at a spot where the valley is especially large, and then fly towards Rattenberg into the other direction. Now let me show you what that looks like on our charts. So basically we go straight ahead from here into the valley, and then somewhere over here we are doing a 180-degree turn, come back and then leave the valley into the other direction so that we can climb above the mountains. In our FMS we have designed this as follows. On the secondary flight plan we have the entire route in, and you can see that I have created a custom waypoint here for the first engine out point that is 2.5 miles from Oscar Echo Victor. Note that Oscar Echo Victor is actually the DME associated with the ILS, so we can use the LS mode over here in order to visualize that one, or we can just use the RNAV points we have created on our nav display. If we take a look at the nav display itself, then this is what it looks like. So we depart straight ahead, and then at 2.5 miles, right-hand turn via waypoint 006 to waypoint 007, and then we do a left turn back to 006, and then we leave the valley into the other direction until we eventually pick up a holding over at Rattenberg. Now, for our takeoff performance, I have calculated a flaps 2 takeoff. It wanted to give me optimum flaps 3, but that would give us so much drag that I recalculated for a flaps 2 takeoff. It took away 5 degrees of flex temperature, but we still have takeoff N1 here at 92.9%, so I find that to be a better compromise there in order to achieve aircraft performance. Our speeds are rather low, which for a gross weight at 77 tons is rather abnormal, as you can see, but that's due to the short runway, and it still ensures a safe climb at V2 to V2 plus 15. Now, a couple of simulator limitations also come in place over here. On one hand side, the Phoenix has some problems if we activate the secondary flight plan, in that it loses its engine out guidance and kinda brings you out of the normal sequence. So that's something we gotta keep in mind. In the real world, when the engine failure happens, I would simply ask my colleague to activate the secondary and then give me a direct to the Oscar Echo Victor 25 point. We can't do that in the simulator, since that is going to screw our engine out logic. For this reason, we will have to fly it in heading mode initially, and I have inserted the first 4 waypoints in the fix info page. So we've got the Oscar Echo Victor 25, which is the reason why it shows over here on the flight plan as well. And then we also have the other waypoints, the 06 point, which is basically overlaying with the other RNAV point over here, then the 07 point over here, then we make the left turn back. So we got to use heading mode to track that route today, which is just down to simulator limitation. Now this much about our basic setup. The goal today is to see how well the aircraft is going to perform over here and to kind of practice those procedures a little bit. And we'll see if we are going to return to Innsbruck or if we divert to an alternate. Haven't quite decided on that just yet. Alright, so that much for our basic setup. The packs are off, which is of course going to cause an ECAM alert after a certain time, but Remember, you can't turn the packs on until you have reduced your thrust to MCT. So if we get an additional alert for the packs, so be it. Gotta be a little bit careful there. Alright, that much about our basic setup. So that's our set. The outcome, whether we come back here or whether we divert somewhere else, is not decided at this point. So let's go ahead and get this one going. Alright, park and brake is released. The failure is armed in the EFB. We're on the train mode down here, and everything is set. So, when we're ready to go, we're ready to go. Takeoff. Manflex 33 SRS auto thrust blue. Thrust set. .100 knots. Checked. V1. Engine failure. Rotate. Positive climb. Gear up. You can see the obstacles in form of that power line down there approaching really quickly. Full heading. Heading. So, let's get some trim in. And autopilot. Okay, passing 2.5 Oscar Echo Victor. Right hand turn. Towards the Whiskey India point. Okay, so safely up, flying, ECAM actions. Engine 1 fail. Engine mode selector, ignition. Engine mode selector, ignition. Thrust lever 1, idle. Confirm. Thrust lever 1, confirmed. Idle. Engine master 1, off. So let's just continue flying here for a bit. Okay, so engine master 1, off. Confirm. Engine master 1, confirmed. Off. Okay. We don't seem to have any damage, so that's the engine secured. So, climbing out to safety in the valley, heading towards waypoint Whiskey India 006.
Pull up.
No.
Terrain ahead. Pull up.
Okay, shut up. So, when we are reaching 4,500, we can continue to clean the airplane up. For the time being, we are still in flex thrust, so we would have the option to go to toga on the remaining engine. But I don't see that necessary at the moment. We're climbing nicely at 700 feet a minute, so I'm going to keep the engine where it is. But always be aware, you do have the option of increasing to toga thrust on the remaining engine. So that next ping is the warning about the packs being off, but that's nothing that we can do anything about for the time being. Okay, 4,500, that's our acceleration altitude. So push to level off. Slowly accelerating. This is really taking time since we have a lot of drag due to the flaps flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. Okay, accelerating further. So up here you can see that wide area in the valley coming up. Whiskey India 007 is located somewhere over here. So we have that entire area here to complete the turn back. Okay, so passing waypoint 006, let's turn left to waypoint 007. Keeping some distance from the valley here. Okay, flap 0. Speed checked. Oh, you weren't meant to go here. Open climb. Okay, lever MCT. So, thrust MCT. Okay, before we do anything else, let's go ahead and complete this turn over here safely. We're about to reach Whiskey India 007. Okay, starting the left turn. Back towards waypoint 006. Okay, in the meantime, pack 2 on. I'm going to keep pack 1 off for the time being. So let's keep a good look outside that we don't fly into anything. You can absolutely see how this is a rather narrow valley, especially for making your turn at a speed like this. This, by the way, is why you've really got to keep it down to green dot speed and ensure that you don't accelerate any further than that, because any acceleration would also increase your turn radius, and you probably don't want to go into here. But I gotta admit, this is a pretty cool look outside. And those mountains definitely are coming close over here. Nothing that I would want to see in the real world. So let's see, 006 is just over here, so that's going to be about a 070, let's say 060 or so track. Maybe 055-ish. Getting pretty close to those mountains, aren't we? Okay, here we go. So, engine anti-ice on. And then we're now flying towards waypoint 006. From there we proceed to waypoint 005. And once we are on the way there, we can start to work a little bit on our flight plan. So we are more or less there, 2 miles to run. Let's initiate the right-hand turn. We can see we are safe from the valley over here. Okay, so then the aviate, navigate, communicate part is completed over here. The navigate was the thing that held up the ECAM actions, so continue with the ECAM please. Okay, engine 1 fail if damage or if no damage. So and 1 is turning and 2 is turning, and we still have all our oil, so there is no damage. So if no damage, engine 1 relight, consider. Okay, so let's go into the engine relight in-flight procedure, please. And before we do that, let's just quickly go ahead and activate the secondary now. So, activate secondary. Then we are inbound Whiskey India 005. Direct to, insert. Here we go. Now we have nav mode available. And that's it. Alright, so engine relight in-flight procedure. That one is only in the QRH, so you don't have it here on the ECAM. We do have the in-flight start envelope, and for a starter assisted relight, below flight level 200, we can use the engine bleed. And if the N2 is below 12%, we can use APU or engine bleed. It's 14, so that is fine. By the way, let's continue the climb to flight level 130 here. Set standard. Standard cross check passing flight level 103. Now, and let's also enable GPWS again, because it might become relevant again. Okay, so we are within the starter assisted in-flight start and envelope. So engine master affected, engine off. That's engine master 1 off. Thrust lever, engine number 1 idle. Thrust lever number 1 is in idle. Engine mode selector ignition. That's in ignition. Okay, cross bleed open. Air conditioning, cross bleed open. Wing anti-ice for starter assisted off, and wing anti-ice is off. Engine master, engine number 1 on. So, engine master number 1 on. And then engine parameters, N2 and EGT monitor. Note, engine light up should be achieved within 30 seconds after fuel flow increases. So we have fuel flow now. Let's start the timer. And let's see if we are going to get a light up. So, automatic starter board is not available. And N2 is running back down, so no. Let's see if FADEC starts a second attempt. But it doesn't look like it. So if no relight, engine master, engine number 1 off. So confirm. Engine number 1 confirmed. Off. Okay, that's the engine relight in-flight procedure complete. And we did not get a relight there. So clear engine 1. Clear engine 1. So engine 1 shutdown. If no fuel leak. Let's see, we used 1,000, we have 5.5 on board, that makes 6.5. Yeah, that's pretty much what we had. So, no fuel leak is suspected, and fuel imbalance monitor. Yeah, that's fine, a little bit less fuel on the number 2 side, which is the running engine. Makes sense. TCAS mode selector, TA. TCAS mode selector, TA. Okay, clear engine 1. Clear engine 1. That removed a lot of stuff. So, air pack 1 off. Yeah, we can turn that on. So, air conditioning pack 1 on. Okay, land as happen amber. On the bleed page, bleed number 2 is powering both sides. That's fine. Clear bleed. And ELAC, generator number 2 has taken over on both buses. Clear ELAC. Status. Stop ECAM. So, let's see. There isn't all that much that we can actually do here. There is no system resets. We already attempted an engine restart. None of that worked, so no resets that we can do over here. Continue status, please. Econ flow on. Aft cargo hot air off. If no engine 1 damage, consider engine 1 relight. 1 pack only if wing anti-ice on. Cat 3 single only. Inoperative systems. Cat 3 dual, engine 1 bleed, main galley, generator 1. Remove status? Remove status. Ecam actions complete. Okay, so, let's get that status page up again. So they want the econ flow on. So that's air conditioning, econ flow on. And aft cargo hot air off. So we don't actually have that dedicated button over here. So well, we are just gonna disregard that one. That probably shouldn't show up over here. Okay, start APU please. And engine anti-ice off. So APU is starting. In the meantime we can do the rest of the cleanup work. Well, and then we gotta think about what we're actually going to do. So number 1 is dead, number 1 won't come back. So let's do a foredeck here. So what are the facts? We're gonna have to land on a single engine, and we have the associated go-around performance. So what are our options then? Of course we could return back to Innsbruck, but we could also consider diverting to another airport, and for that the obvious closest airport available where our company actually has maintenance is Munich. So let's see, let's go ahead and start to collect some data. So ATSU, AOC menu, weather, and we are looking for Innsbruck, as that is kind of the obvious choice that's in the area. And then we can also look for Munich. And perhaps we can also get Salzburg, since that's also rather close. Okay, so the APU is available and is powering AC bus number 1. Perfect. So let's see, weather data, Innsbruck, 0503, slightly variable, few clouds, 1 degree, 1015. Munich has 0609, light snow, -2 degrees, 1018, temporarily 4000 meters. And Salzburg, 330 at 5, overcast 2200, tempo 3000 meters, and snow. That's actually interesting. Temporary from 1215. Not exactly the format that normally would be used, but okay. So what can we say about the risk and benefits of each of those options? Now, if we go back to Innsbruck, we have a short runway. We either do a tailwind landing, or we have to come back and do the circling approach on a single engine. So Innsbruck, no. I only see risks. The only benefit would be it's close, but we don't really gain much from that, do we? So other airports than Munich, they have long runway, 4000 meters, passenger handling facilities. It's an airline base. They have maintenance. The only risk there is the light snow. So temporary runway closure, snow clearing, that kind of stuff. And the last one then is Salzburg, which has runway 33 in use, and from 12:15, so yeah, in an hour, but no, Salzburg would require us to do circling approach, not really an option. So, well, which option are we going to take? I'd say diversion to Munich, because that's kind of the only airport in the area that actually has acceptable weather conditions and the best facilities. So let's just go into a heading here, 360, something the likes, to get flying into the general direction of Munich, and then we can start to work on our diversion. So at this point, execute. We would of course declare, or we would already have declared the emergency, but we would declare our diversion to Munich. So let's go ahead and do that. So flight plan from Rattenberg, new destination, Echo Delta Delta Mike. insert. Then let's select runway 08 right for our landing. Approach via, just want something in here at first, so Ottersberg. Let's fly direct to Ottersberg so that we are at least flying into the right direction already. Don't really care about the rest right now. Let's also tell it new cruising altitude 130 so that we get a little bit more accurate calculations here. So 130 is safe on the way over there, no mountains ahead, and all above the MSA. So that much for that part. Then let's go ahead and start working on our diversion. So add alternate, Echo Delta Delta Mike. Will you? Here we go. So Munich, approach, ILS 08 right. Then let's also inform the company so that they already know that we are coming. So, diversion. ICAO, Echo Delta Delta Mike. Estimated time of arrival. Let's see, 11:26. So let's tell them 11:25 in here. Diversion due to engine fail. Let's say due to engine 1 fail. Okay, send that out so that the company gets involved. Well then, let's see. So we've entered the arrival from Ottersberg. Might take a little further shortcut here towards Maisach so that we don't fly too much of a rerouting here. Let's go direct to Maisach. In the real world, we'd probably just be on radar vectors right now, but it all works, so I'm kind of happy with that. Now let's go ahead and have a look. Being 5000, 3-degree glide, and that is correct. As far as I remember, they did have negative temperatures there, so let's see if cold temperature corrections become necessary. -2 degrees, yeah they are. Alright, that's fine. So, of course we don't correct the final approach, as Airbus does not allow that. But what we've got to correct is the MSA, so 3,700 over a field elevation of 1,500 is 2,200 feet. And we can basically just add 10% to that for temperatures around ISA -15. So basically we end up with an MSA at 3,900 feet. The missed approach altitude is above that at 5,000, so we don't need to do any cold temperature corrections there. And yeah, I can't be bothered with that 1,900 feet waypoint. That would be 40 feet or something. Doesn't matter. What we do need to correct though is the minimum. So 1686 is 200 above the ground at 10%, so that's 20 feet more, so 1706 is our new minimum. Missed approach in here is checked to 5,000. Then for the nav aids, of course we gotta delete that ILS frequency that we previously had. Then EDDM to, nope, 08 right, going in here. Performance. The only thing we gotta care about is this. So let's see, temperature -2, 1706 the minimum. Then let's see, ATSU weather. And that is 060 at 9, QNH 1018. Like that. Perfect. Alright, engine out acceleration in case of go around. We said 3,900 is the temperature corrected MSA, so we'll take that. And then let's copy the secondary. So what I'm gonna do is, in case of go around, I just want to fly runway heading up to 5,000. That way we can accelerate a little bit lower. So let's enter EDDM 08 right, runway track 080, and then we can quickly create the engine out waypoint for Munich. So that's gonna be MUK X2 on 08 right, EDDM08 right /080 and 25 miles, PBD point create. And then let's go back to the fix info page and enter that newly created waypoint over here, MUK X2. And that way we have now basically told the aircraft that we are going to just fly on the runway track. That's basically the engine outset for runway 08 right. Straight at 25 miles, climbing 4,000, still above the temperature corrected MSA, and most importantly, that means we can accelerate in 1,500 or 1,000 feet above the ground, actually, so 2,500. That's a little bit easier, isn't it? Okay, so QNH 1018, let's dial that one in. Here we go. And now comes the big question, are we going to be overweight? So we're at 75.6. Let's have a look into the flight plan. Maximum landing weight 77.8, so we don't need to do the overweight landing procedure. That's good. Okay. So then we'll use auto brakes low, and that's pretty much it. Okay, everything done. Then we'll assume that we have already informed our passengers. So when you're ready, let's go ahead and do the approach briefing, please. And if we're on it already, engine 2 anti-ice on. Okay, so for the briefing, MSA 3900, we are going to get radar vectors for an ILS approach runway 08 right. Minimum 1706, and the go-around trajectory will be straight ahead to the Munich X2 point, climbing 4,000 feet, which keeps us safe above the MSA. Extra fuel and time, let's see what it says down here. 1 hour and 55 minutes. And since we are committed, I just want to change that to 45. Come on, you can do that. To 45 minutes, so that gives us 1 hour and 40 extra. Alright, very good. Then let's go ahead and start our descent all the way down to 5,000. First idle descent, alt flight 50 blue, set QNH. QNH 1018 cross check, passing 13,000 now. Checked. Okay, so the approach will be ILS guided, landing config full, stop margin more than enough. Let's see if... Hey, the Phoenix does support abnormals in the performance, doesn't it? So, runway, we are now landing in Munich, and on 08 right, refresh the weather please, and apply that. So, landing weight, 75.5. Low auto brake, idle reverse, auto thrust on, flaps full, manual landing, and we have engine system. Engine shutdown if engine fire push button pushed, and if ice accretion. Nope, neither is the case. Then we don't even need to select that failure. Okay, that's it. 2,315 meters. Factored 2,700. Distance available 4,000, so stop margin will be 1,300 meters. We will use the reversers and the low auto brake. Initially, we are going to stop the aircraft on the runway, have it inspected by emergency services before we start taxiing, since we don't really know what caused that engine failure. Okay, I have no hotspots for taxiing later on. We'll have us towed in anyway. We might still vacate that runway on a single engine, but after that I want to tuck, and that's it. Special operations, nothing. Non-standard operations, we are coming in on a single engine. So basically we are going to follow the profile more or less exactly, intercept the glide slope with flaps 1, since we have a pretty long final. However, we've got to see how the wind is going to evolve, since currently it would be an 18 knots tailwind. We're going to make the configuration a little bit dependent on how the wind is going to evolve. My basic idea for the approach is that we keep the aircraft in config 1 or maybe config 2 depending on the wind configuration by the time we intercept the glide, and then go landing gear down so that we have plenty of time to establish ourselves. Well, and that's all there is to it. If we review the status page down here, there is nothing about the actual landing except that we don't have Cat 3 dual available, but we still have Cat 3 single, so we could do an auto land if we wanted to. Alright, and that's it. Threats for the arrival. Well, the only threat I see is that when we take over manually, there will be some rudder trim automatically inserted, and I can't really reach down here to reset that for the landing, so we'll probably land with the rudder slightly trimmed. So how can we solve that? Well, we could just remove the trim. We could just remove the trim when taking over manually. I think I'm going to do that, then we'll just have to apply a little bit of rudder on the final, but that makes the flare quite a bit nicer, so I kind of prefer that over landing with a trimmed aircraft. Okay, any questions? No? Perfect, so that's our briefing complete. Then we've passed 10,000, lights on, signs on, constraints and LS. GPS primary, engine mode selector and ignition. Alright, approach checklist please. Barrel reference, QNH 1018, seatbelts on, minimum barrel 1706, auto brake, low engine mode selector, ignition, approach checklist complete. Okay, still 16 knots of tailwind on the final. Why is it increasing our target speed now? That doesn't make much sense, but... Nope. You are not gonna add thrust, my friend. So, selected speed. So, thrust idle. Alright, let's just dial it down. Once we overfly the decel point, I'll go back to managed speed. So, a little bit of weather over here. That's probably some of those clouds out of which all that snow is coming. Okay, managed speed. Get yourself back down onto the profile, which it is gonna do. We're already receiving ILS Munich Southeast, below the glide slope, very good. And we'll overfly the decel point now. We'll have to check if we need to help the aircraft a little bit with the spoilers here. Still some 10 knots of tailwind. So, the approach phase has just activated itself. Speed coming back nicely. But, yeah, we do need some spoilers here to help it slow down. The last thing I want in a situation like this is to go onto the final with an aircraft that is ill-configured. So, pretty small margin between VFE and VLS, so we are just inside it, flaps 1. Alt star, lock star. Wind is turning relatively cross right now, that's good. But let's go flaps 2. Just want to be sure that we can actually get that speed down. 5 knots tailwind now. That's kinda okay. Glide slope star. Go around altitude 4000 set. Okay. Then we can get rid of the speed brakes. And then status, Eigenflow on, we have that, aft cargo hot air off, not installed, and Cat 3 single only. That's the important thing here. Alright. Now technically speaking, we are not doing an overweight landing, so we don't actually have to do this, but nonetheless, I'll go APU bleed on, as that is going to give us some additional performance in case of go-around, because now the APU powers the packs, and engine number 1 now has the packs of performance available. Not exactly part of the procedure, but something that gives us additional thrust, so I am going to do it. Okay, so the cabin just called. Hello.
The cabin is now secure for landing.
Thank you. Alright, so gear down. Flaps 3, speed checked. Flap 3, and flaps full. Speed checked. Flaps full. Okay, so, landing checklist. Ecam memo, landing no blue. Landing checklist complete. So then, let's take over manually. The wind has already turned into a headwind. I like that. Autopilot off. Reset the trim. And then let's also take the auto thrust off. Because something that I don't really like, and many pilots don't like that either, is when auto thrust is on a single engine approach and landing, it just continuously varies the thrust all the time, and in response you have to vary the rudder input. For this reason I prefer to fly on manual thrust when doing a single engine approach, because that way you know exactly when the thrust changes are gonna come and you can counter them properly with your rudder. So remember, in case of go-around, we'll have to pull heading, since this aircraft is equipped with an automatic nav on go-around feature. We do need quite a bit of thrust here, 75%. And 1000 is checked and stable. But look at that, it seems fairly stable here at 75% and 1. So that's looking quite good. Runway in sight. Land. Checked. Continue.
100. 50, 40, 30, 20, retard. 10, 5.
Spoiler, reverse green. Decel. $70 knots. Manual brakes. And then let's bring it to a stop over here. Here we are. Park and brake set. Well, and at this point the emergency services would inspect the aircraft, and then eventually we'd taxi off the runway and be towed to some position on the apron where the passengers can disembark and where the aircraft would thereafter be towed to maintenance. Well, and that's everything I can offer you today. I hope you enjoyed this one. Be sure to leave your feedback in the comments underneath the video. I'm really interested to hear what you think about this one, and let me know if you want me to do similar scenarios in the future. Thank you very much for watching. As always, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.